So, you think osteoarthritis is just about getting older? You know, simple wear and tear on your joints? Well, you might want to think again. What if I told you the real story is about energy, evolution, and a genetic secret passed down from your most ancient ancestors? Okay, let's dive into the new science of joint health.
Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll bust that old wear and tear myth. Then we'll meet the tiny power plants inside your cells. After that, we'll trace their incredible journey through human history, see how that journey is directly linked to your personal risk for joint disease, and finally, we'll look at some mind-blowing new ways to fix the problem.
All right, first things first, we have to challenge the one idea that's dominated how we think about osteoarthritis for, well, centuries. For ages, this has been the go-to explanation, right? Your joints are like the tires on a car, you use them, they get old, and eventually they just wear out. It sounds logical, but it turns out that's a massively incomplete picture of what's really going on. And we're not talking about a minor issue here. This affects over 300 million people all across the globe. So figuring out the true cause isn't just some academic puzzle. It's a huge global health priority.
So here it is, the big paradigm shift. The new thinking is that OA isn't really a mechanical problem, it's a metabolic one. The root cause isn't the joint getting worn down, but a power failure happening inside the tiny individual cells that make up your cartilage.
And that brings us to the star of our show, the source of all that power, the mitochondrion. You probably remember hearing about it in high school biology, right? It's the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, so think of these things as little biological batteries. They take the food you eat and turn it into the special energy molecule called ATP. Your cartilage cells, called chondrocytes, need a constant supply of ATP to do their job, which is basically nonstop maintenance and repair work on your joints. But here's the problem. In osteoarthritis, these little power plants, they start to sputter. They get less efficient, they produce less ATP, and pretty soon the cartilage cells are basically starving for energy. And without enough power, they just can't keep up with repairs, and the joint begins to break down. Now, this is where things get really fascinating, because there's a deep genetic twist to this story. See, mitochondria are special. They have their own separate DNA, and it's passed down only from your mother, carrying with it the story of your deep, deep ancestral past. These ancient genetic variations put people into groups called haplogroups. You can think of it as your deep ancestral clan, a kind of genetic fingerprint that shows where your ancestors were living tens of thousands of years ago. As humans moved out of Africa into, say, colder climates, their mitochondria actually adapted to handle energy differently. And to really get this, we need an analogy. Let's think of these different ancestral mitochondria as different kinds of engines. Some are like high-performance race cars, and others, well, they're more like super fuel-efficient hybrids. Okay, check this out. The most common haplogroup in Europe today, haplogroup H, is the race car. It burns hot and fast, making a ton of ATP. But it also pumps out a lot of nasty cellular exhaust fumes. This stuff is called reactive oxygen species, or ROS, and it damages the cell. But then you have haplogroups J and T. They're the hybrid engines. They produce a little less ATP, sure, but they do it way more cleanly, with way less of that damaging ROS exhaust. So, what does the engine your ancient ancestors gave you have to do with your joints today? Well, this is where we connect the dots. And the evidence is pretty stunning. When you look at multiple big studies, you see this incredibly clear pattern. A giant analysis of over 3,000 people found that haplogroup J, our hybrid engine, means you have a lower risk of even getting OA. Other studies show that haplogroup T is tied to a lower risk of the disease getting worse. And on the flip side, people with haplogroup H, the race car, have higher levels of chemicals in their body that signal cartilage breakdown. This right here is the absolute key. The long-term health of your joints isn't about the raw horsepower of your cellular engines. It's all about their efficiency. The hybrid engines from haplogroups J and T just cause less damage over the decades, and that seems to be what protects the joint. This new understanding is more than just cool science. It's blowing the doors wide open for a whole new generation of treatments. So how can we use this knowledge to actually go in and rewire a failing joint? I love this quote from Dr. Maroon Curry because it just nails the new approach. Instead of just treating the pain, what if we could go in and give those damaged cells a whole new set of power generators?
And believe it or not, that's exactly what scientists are starting to do. There's a new technique called mitochondrial transfer. It's pretty incredible. You take healthy, super efficient mitochondria, usually from stem cells, and you transplant them directly into the damaged cartilage cells. It's literally like giving an old sputtering car a brand new hybrid engine.
And this isn't just some fringe idea. It's part of a whole new wave of metabolic treatments on the horizon. We're talking about things like targeted antioxidants designed to go in and neutralize that exhaust, and even looking at existing drugs like metformin to see if they can boost the health of our mitochondria.
And this leaves us with a truly mind-bending question. At its core, osteoarthritis is a disease of cellular aging. So, if we can successfully replace the engine in a failing joint cell, what's next? What other diseases of aging could we potentially slow down or even reverse by fixing the very power source of life itself? The possibilities are just staggering.